Waterloo man had two big challenges as he tried to stand out to get your attention to become Iowa's next governor. First, not a lot of people knew who he was. And how would he convince enough people to donate to his campaign? Today, Ross Smith acknowledged he just doesn't have the support to continue this race. Smith was trying to become the first person of color ever elected to governor in Iowa's 175-year history. He leaves the race frustrated with a system he says gave him very little chance to compete. Our political director, Dave Price, joins us. A lot of factors at play here, and in the end, he says it was too much to overcome.
Yeah, and it's a lot, and I think he was familiar with what those challenges would be as he got into this race. One of the things he talked about when we talked late this morning was that it's just so difficult to break through into a race like this. Obviously, it's a marquee race, a race for governor. So he's known in his part of the state up in Waterloo as he's been serving in the state legislature for a while there and has gotten out and campaigned and such. But he said one of the more difficult things was, frankly, getting people to return his phone calls. And that is kind of a theme that Democrats are dealing with right now. The state has been trending Republican over the last decade or so. So convincing some of the Democrats who have the money to fund some of these campaigns has been a challenge for some of the candidates. And it's something Ross Smith said he just couldn't overcome.
Political currency, besides money, obviously that's the big one. The other one's ideas. And it just seems like right now, Iowans aren't leaning towards Democratic ideas. They're going in the opposite direction. So where does that leave Deidre DeJear, right? She's the high-profile Democrat left in this race. She gets more of the spotlight, but is her message one that the majority of Iowans want to hear? Isn't that the challenge for her?
And I think she will say that she would have several challenges here. What is that message that will punch through? And she will be, you know, one of the marquee names on the ballot for Democrats potentially here if she would go on to get the nomination to go up against Kim Reynolds in the fall here. So what is that message that can break through? But not only would she have to fire up the Democrats, but you have to try to, for her campaign, win back some of these independents. And this is always one of the fascinating things about our state, because it's not a diehard Republican state or a diehard Democrat state historically here. So when you step back, you look at what Barack Obama on the presidential level accomplished in Iowa by winning over independents and moderates on both sides. But then look at that huge sea change that Donald Trump was able to do. So he won over some of those same people who had moved over to Obama and then moved back to Trump and then brought some new people into the party as well. So DeJear is going to have to figure out where are things right now and where can she be. Democrats historically didn't go out and campaign in the way Republicans did, concerned about COVID-19, for example. So Republicans in that last election still went out and did the old-fashioned door knocking. Democrats, by and large, did not. And it's that door knocking where you can do that face-to-face meeting to try to introduce yourself and try to win them over. So can they use technology to maybe get around that? That's something DeJear is looking at. Can you connect on social media? Can you use Zoom like so many of us have to do as we do our jobs these days? Is that a way to connect? But what is that message that will punch through when Iowans historically prefer incumbents in a race?
And who's delivering the message, Dave? Are there Democrats who say, look, based on turnout, based on registration with Republicans, Democrats, and that huge chunk of independent voters, are there any of them suggesting, hey, if we get out and we get behind our candidate, now we solidify going into the primary, maybe we can turn this into some turnout that changes the tide? Is anybody making that suggestion?
Well, and I think you have two different opinions here. You have some Democrats and strategists who believe, look at the pie here, look at the history, look at the limited dollars that are available. So would it make more sense to pick like the Des Moines Metro, Johnson County, maybe Waterloo area, Cedar Rapids area, squeeze as many Democratic voters out there, and that's where some of the population growth is. Squeeze what you can out of there and just forget about some of the smaller counties outside the big metro areas. There aren't a lot of Democrats there. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the money. There are others. Now, DeJear is one of these who does not believe that way. She's saying get out, get everywhere, get where people are. That's what Tom Vilsack always says. You can't just give up because Democrats aren't realistically going to win a place like Sioux City. you still got to get out there. You got to win as many as you can, convince independents to come along, and maybe you'll get some Republicans to go along too. So it does seem like there are two big differences of thought there, and it'll be interesting to see how DeGier follows through on this. We also need to watch Sioux City State Representative Chris Hall. He's deciding whether to run for governor, so it could be DeGier and Hall as the two main Democrats in this case, and will they have different approaches to try to get the nomination?
All right, political director Dave Price with the latest on a race that drastically changed today. Thank you, Dave. We got Ed's full forecast right after this.